Message erased. At the tone, please re-record your message. When you are finished recording, press 1.
Hi, this is Charlene Blake calling again, and I figured I would call so that you guys could just get this message, because we all know that you guys are not going to answer my phone calls anymore. At what point do we stop and put an end to employee misconduct at work personnel? At what point do we stand up and support injured workers and stop protecting the people who are harming them? At what point do we put data integrity at the top of our priorities? At what point do we put in procedures to protect injured workers from having misinformation on their files, from having data misrepresented on their files, like telling Dustin, or should I say, a better way to put it is that they wrote that Dustin was deciding basically to leave Alberta at the time of his August the 5th, 2019 reoccurrence because of work not taking him back while his knee was unstable, when the reality was they were told the absolute opposite. The reason we were leaving was because of their unfair decision to not compensate him his legal compensation that would not have caused unfair results. To actually understand that he needed his full loss of earnings covered, and he also needed to be exempt from the 85% as well to keep him in Alberta. And he was exempt using Section 20-4, and at that time it was Section 19-4. He was exempt from the maximum compensable and the 85%, but they made it seem like he had made the decision based on his work's decision, when it wasn't that way. They lied about what they were told in his file. At what point is that acceptable? If that was Tony or whatever receptionist or whatever you guys call yourself these days, assistants or whatever it is, if that was you guys, how would you feel being in our shoes? Really? How would you feel if you were telling them something and they were twisting everything that you said to them into something else? Kind of like when Justin said to one of the workers in this office that day that you did answer the phone, the second day that the phone was answered, and he said, "I'm not getting any answers from workplace personnel." And the answer, or when the person from the office spoke up, the first thing that they said was, "Well, have you contacted workplace personnel?" Excuse me? Who do you think he's been contacting if he's not getting answers from them? Where does your level of competence come from in serving the public when the best thing that you can come up with is, have you contacted workplace personnel, when they must have obviously been contacting workplace personnel if workplace personnel is the ones not answering his questions? Seriously, where did you think he was calling? Hong Kong? The Pope? The Bishop? Where? Where did you think he was calling? What kind of competence does that make you in your role? Because I would be absolutely ashamed that that was what I would come up with to ask someone when they said that to me. I would not be stupid enough to ask them if they were contacting the very place that they told me they were not receiving answers from, because that was a very stupid answer, in my opinion. And it is a truthful answer or response when I'm telling you that it was actually stupid of you to say that. It makes you look very stupid to say that. It is what it is. I posted that on social media as well. I don't understand why that would have been the first thing that you said. It just, it makes no sense. At what point do we get the communication restored through some means to get all of this settled once and for all, the professional, mature way? At what point does that happen? That's what I want to know. At what point is Tony Wakeham going to put injured workers at the top of the priority chain? When will that happen? When does injured workers get a voice? When are they going to get rid of Louise Bradley and put an injured worker in there? When will that happen? It is what it is. And answers.
You have reached the maximum time permitted for your recording. If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your